longtime favorite announcer on ESPN, Sage Steele, had a very bizarre interview with President Biden. She was told, here's your script, read it word for word. Biden had a script. He read it word for word. They made it look like a real interview, and the whole thing was faked. She is going public with that story now. I got a wild one for you. There's a former U.S. ESPN host for many years, very, very, very popular. She went independent largely because she sued the network for suppressing her free speech and her free speech on her own time, on her own platform. She said she didn't like the pressure about COVID, that she had to have shots, she had to have boosters, she had to do this, she couldn't speak out, and blah, blah, blah. So she left the network. So
this was CNN that she left?
ESPN.
Oh, okay, ESPN. Okay.
Anyway, her name is Sage Steele. You probably recognize her. Very, very famous sportscaster. That's her, beautiful lady. She's going public now with a fascinating story. It just came out. She said that she did a taped interview with President Biden in 2021. This is her quote. That was an interesting experience in its own right because it was so structured, she said. I was told, quote, you will say every word that we write out. You will not deviate from the script and go. You will read it word for word. In other words, she was not allowed to interview. She was only allowed to read what the people at ESPN, which is owned by ABC, wrote for her. She said, I knew that this went a lot bigger than just the wonderful editors I worked with. This went up to the fourth floor where all the bosses, the top executives, the decision makers are, and the president of our company and the CEO, where they all work. She said, I was not sure where ESPN sent the questions to get approved, but I think they went to the White House to be approved by Joe Biden's people. I think it's really heartbreaking that the people who love Joe Biden and say they truly care about him have allowed it to get to this point. Basically, what she said is he was unable to answer any question that wasn't on her approved list. And it came across as a live interview when they weren't even sitting together. It was done remotely. Apparently, the cameras were covered so they couldn't film until they said go. And it was that structured. And they said, here, read these questions. He had the answers to the questions, and he read them back to her.
Verbatim.
And that 2 years ago.
Yeah, I just recently heard about that story too, and I wonder why is it coming out now? Did they have her on a gag order like they've been doing President Trump, like you can't say anything? Was there an NDI?
There used to be a quarterback for the Bears named Jay Cutler, and he has a podcast. He was a fairly famous quarterback in the NFL, and he asked her about it, and that's where the story came out. So wow. She was on his podcast, and she said, I just got to tell what happened because...
so after all this time, she just broke down and couldn't contain it any longer. She just had to let it out.
And the truth is that this is a startling story. Can you imagine where she's given the questions, he's given the answers, they cover the cameras with cloth, they weren't even in the same room so that he could be reading off a prompter like he's looking into the camera, and she had to read word for word the questions that were approved by ESPN all the way to the president and the CEO and the White House.
So I'm wondering if Karine Jean-Pierre has a statement on that, because this is dealing with Joe Biden. She should have a statement. This is the same Karine Jean-Pierre that wakes up at 4:30 every morning to get the news of the day. What does that say about Joe Biden not being able to answer questions off the cuff? What does it say about Joe Biden not being able to take questions from people that he doesn't know the answer to? What does that say? He's sitting in the highest seat of the land. He's in the highest position, if not just the United States of America, but the world, sitting in the highest position. And what does he do? He can't take questions, and
Oh
then of
no,
course
no,
he'll
he
do a
can
press
take
conference.
questions as long as they're the questions that
Right. It's
they
like this.
wrote.
It has to be
Yeah,
on the card, right? It has to be on the
yeah,
card,
yeah.
because he goes next. We have Richard from ABC, and then they're asking him the question. He's reading it along as they go along, and then I've seen him. He does. So what she's saying is 100% factual because we've all seen it. No one can
Oh
deny it.
yeah.
No one can deny it. That's why I brought up Karine Jean-Pierre. Is she going to deny it when we've all seen it? Which would not surprise me that she would.
Well, she's a brave lady. You got to give her that. And well done for Jay Cutler for bringing it up.